Welcome in, everyone. Today's deep dive is going to be, I think, kind of surprising, maybe even a little bit fun.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to be looking at humor
Okay.
in Buddhist philosophy.
Interesting.
Yeah. And I know when a lot of people think about Buddhism, they think, quiet contemplation and meditation and all of that.
Right.
But humor is actually an important part of this ancient tradition. It's just not something people often talk about.
Yeah, that's true. I think a lot of people don't realize that there's this whole concept in Buddhism called the lightness of being.
Lightness of being.
Yeah. It's not about pretending life is all sunshine and rainbows. It's more about accepting that everything changes.
Oh.
Everything is impermanent. There's actually a word for it in Buddhism, anicca.
Anicca.
Yeah. And the idea is that if we cling too tightly to things or to outcomes to our desires, it leads to suffering.
Makes sense.
Buddhists call that suffering dukkha.
Dukkha. Okay, so clinging causes suffering. Got it.
Exactly. And so the idea of the lightness of being is about finding a way to navigate life without that clinging, without that attachment to things staying the same.
Right, because they won't.
Exactly.
So how does humor fit into all of this? Do we just, tell ourselves a joke when we're feeling stressed?
It's a little more nuanced than that.
Okay.
It's more about cultivating a mindset that lets us see the humor in everyday situations.
Yeah,
Even when things are tough.
I can see how that would be helpful.
It is. There's a great story about a Zen master who used to make this funny face.
A funny face?
Yeah, to teach a student about freeing the mind. The student was totally confused at first, but the master explained that laughter can help us let go of rigid thinking and open ourselves up to new possibilities.
So it's about finding a different perspective,
Yeah.
not taking everything so seriously.
Exactly. And that's not always easy. Our instinct is usually to resist anything that feels uncomfortable. But humor allows us to just embrace the absurdity of life, to laugh at our mistakes and see challenges as opportunities to learn and grow.
That reminds me of Steve Jobs. He was a master at using humor in his presentation,
Oh, absolutely.
especially when he was unveiling a new product. It wasn't just about the tech. It was about connecting with the audience, making them laugh, making those complex ideas relatable and engaging.
He was brilliant at that, and it's so important for success, especially in fields like technology where things are constantly changing.
Right. You got to be adaptable.
Exactly. And humor helps us do that. It makes us more resilient. We can bounce back from setbacks and approach challenges with a more playful attitude.
So instead of getting defeated by failure, we can laugh it off and try again.
Exactly. Think of it this way. When we can laugh at ourselves, we're less likely to be crippled by fear of failure.
That's a good point.
We can pick ourselves up, dust ourselves off, and say, okay, what did I learn from that, and how can I do it differently next time?
It's like humor gives us permission to be imperfect.
You got it, and that's a powerful thing.
It is. So humor can help us navigate the ups and downs of life with a little more grace and ease.
It does. It helps us remember not to take ourselves too seriously and, to find those moments of joy even when things are chaotic.
I love that. So how do we actually develop this sense of humor? Can we really train ourselves to find the funny side of things, especially when life throws us curveballs?
That's a great question, and it leads us to the practical side of things. One of the key practices in Buddhism is mindfulness,
Mindfulness.
paying attention to the present moment with openness and without judgment.
So we're not just reacting automatically to whatever's happening. We're taking a step back, observing it more objectively.
Yes. And mindfulness helps us notice when we're getting caught up in negative thinking. And it gives us that little space to choose a different response.
So if you spill coffee all over yourself, instead of getting angry, you could just laugh it off.
Exactly. Maybe even make a joke about it. Like, well, at least I'm caffeinated from the inside out now.
Okay, I like that.
Right. It's about finding that little spark of humor even in those moments that might seem frustrating at first.
So it's a conscious choice to see the humor in everyday life.
It is. And the more we practice it, the more natural it becomes, just like building a muscle.
The more you use it, the stronger it gets.
Exactly.
So by choosing to see the humor in things, even when they're tough, we can actually change our whole perspective.
You've got it. And that can have a huge impact on our well-being, on how we handle stress, on how resilient we are in the face of challenges.
It's almost like humor becomes a superpower.
It kind of is.
It lets us see the world in a different light and find joy in unexpected places.
Exactly. And it all starts with that willingness to embrace the absurdity, to let go of control and, to find the funny, even when things don't go according to plan.
I love that. This has been so insightful.
Yeah, it's fascinating stuff.
We've talked about the philosophy behind humor in Buddhism, and we've even touched on some practical techniques for cultivating that sense of humor.
Yeah, I think that's important,
Wow.
giving people something they can actually use.
Exactly. It's clear that humor is so much more than just entertainment.
Right. It's powerful.
It's a tool for personal growth, for connection, and for well-being.
Absolutely.
Before we go any further, though, I do want to circle back to something you mentioned earlier,
Okay.
the Buddhist concept of non-attachment.
Yes. That's a big word.
It seems to be really closely tied to this whole idea of finding humor in the face of change and uncertainty.
It absolutely is. And it's interesting because it's not just about, our own personal well-being. This whole idea of lightness and humor can really extend to how we interact with the world around us.
So using humor to actually make a positive impact on other people.
Exactly. You see, compassion and helping others are at the very heart of Buddhist teachings.
Right.
And humor can be this really powerful way to express that compassion.
I like that. So instead of just laughing at a funny meme online, we can use humor to lift someone's spirits or ease tensions or even build stronger connections with people.
Absolutely. And it doesn't have to be, some big grand gesture. It can be as simple as sharing a lighthearted moment with a colleague or finding a way to make a friend smile when they're feeling down.
I've always thought there's something almost magical about laughter.
Oh, yeah.
Like when you have a genuine laugh with someone, it can completely shift the energy in a room.
It really can. It's like this shared moment of joy that brings people together.
It is.
And, think about when you're dealing with a really challenging situation, finding even a glimmer of humor not only helps you cope, but it can inspire the people around you to do the same.
So it's contagious in a way.
I think so, yeah. Like
Yeah.
Richard Branson, the entrepreneur.
Oh, yeah, I know what you mean.
He's known for having this really playful leadership style. And he uses humor all the time to connect with his employees and his customers. Creates this much more positive and engaging environment for everyone.
That's so interesting. So it's not about being like a stand-up comedian or anything.
No, not
It's just about bringing that lightness of spirit into all of your interactions.
Exactly. Being mindful of how your words and actions can, create a more positive and uplifting atmosphere.
I see what you mean.
Of course, we have to remember that humor is subjective, right? What one person finds funny, another person might find offensive.
True.
So being aware of your audience and using humor respectfully is super important.
Like that saying, read the room.
Exactly.
You've got to make sure your humor is appropriate for the context and the people you're with.
Absolutely. And sometimes humor can be the perfect tool to actually diffuse tension or conflict.
Oh yeah, I've definitely seen that happen.
Like a well-placed joke or a lighthearted comment can really break the ice and open the door for more honest communication.
That's so true. It kind of helps everyone step back from the situation and find a more balanced perspective.
Exactly. It reminds us not to take things so seriously and to look for common ground.
So instead of getting defensive or digging in our heels, we can find a way to laugh together.
Exactly. And when you can make people laugh, you open their minds to new perspectives and ideas.
I love that. So humor becomes this bridge that helps us overcome our differences.
Exactly. And that's something I think we could all use a little more of in the world today.
I agree. This has been such an eye-opening conversation.
It has. I'm really enjoying this.
Me too. We've explored how humor is not just a source of entertainment, but really a powerful tool for finding inner peace, for connecting with others, and for navigating the challenges of life with more grace and resilience.
It's all about bringing that lightness of being that Buddhist wisdom into every aspect of our lives.
Now, before we wrap up, I want to delve a little deeper into this whole concept of non-attachment that you mentioned earlier.
Okay.
It seems like it's really closely connected to this idea of finding humor in the face of change and uncertainty.
It is. It's a really key concept in Buddhism.
So we've been talking about finding lightness and humor and how we interact with others and the world around us. But you mentioned this thing, non-attachment, as a really key concept in Buddhist thought.
Yeah.
What does that actually mean?
Well, it's kind of deep, but basically non-attachment doesn't mean we don't care or that we just become emotionless robots or something. It's more about recognizing that when we cling really tightly to things, to outcomes, to our desires, it creates suffering.
So it's about letting go of trying to control everything and accepting that life's going to do what life's going to do.
Exactly. And that's where the humor comes in,
Okay.
When we can laugh at ourselves at the unexpected twists and turns that life throws our way, it helps loosen our grip on things. And it allows us to approach those situations with more of an open mind, a more accepting attitude.
So it's like saying, okay, I didn't expect this to happen, but I'm going to roll with it.
Yes.
And maybe even find something funny about it.
I love that. Think about how often we get stressed or frustrated when things don't go according to our carefully crafted plans.
Oh, all the time.
Right. I'm a planner too.
Me too.
So when things go off script, I know it can be tough
Yeah.
to just let go and go with the flow.
For sure.
And that's where humor can be so helpful. It reminds us to not take ourselves or our plans so seriously.
Yeah.
Because, let's face it, life rarely goes exactly as we envision it.
There's that saying, right? Life is what happens when you're busy making other plans.
It's so true.
And sometimes the best we can do is just laugh at those unexpected detours and embrace the adventure.
That's the beauty of connecting non-attachment with humor. You find that sweet spot between striving for your goals and being okay when things don't go as planned. You embrace the journey with all its ups and downs, but you do it with a sense of humor and lightness.
So it's not about giving up on our dreams,
Oh, no, not at all.
but it's about being flexible, knowing that there are going to be bumps along the way.
Exactly.
And that's okay.
Yeah, humor is like that secret weapon that helps you navigate those bumps with more grace and more resilience.
Oh, I like that.
It's like having a built-in shock absorber for life's unexpected twists and turns.
Makes those challenges feel a little less daunting, I guess.
Yeah, for sure. Instead of hitting a roadblock, it's just a detour.
Yeah.
Maybe even a scenic route that you wouldn't have discovered otherwise.
That's all about perspective.
It really is. And when you approach challenges with a sense of humor, you're more likely to stay motivated, you know?
Yeah.
To find creative solutions and ultimately achieve your goals, even if it's not in the exact way you initially imagined.
So having a sense of humor about life in general is pretty important.
Absolutely. It's about being able to laugh at yourself, to laugh at the absurdity of it all, and to remember that even in the midst of tough times, there's always something to smile about.
That's a beautiful way to live.
It is.
Approaching everything with joy and curiosity and that unshakable belief that no matter what comes your way, you can handle it.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe
Yeah.
even have a good laugh while you're at it.
That's the spirit. It's about finding that inner peace and resilience that helps us really thrive no matter what life throws at us.
I love that. Well, this deep dive has certainly left me feeling lighter,
Good. Me too.
and I hope our listeners feel the same way.
I hope so. We've uncovered some really valuable insights today, about how humor is not just for entertainment, but it's actually a path to inner harmony, resilience, and even success.
It's about bringing that lightness of being that Buddhist wisdom into our everyday lives.
Exactly.
So on that note, we'd like to leave you with a thought-provoking question.
I like it.
If you were to approach your biggest challenge right now with a sense of humor, how might that change your perspective? Something to think about as you go about your day.
Yeah.
And remember, laughter is always a good idea.
Always.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the world of humor and Buddhist philosophy.
It was a fun one.
It was. Until next time, keep exploring, keep laughing, and keep seeking those moments of lightness and joy.
See you next time.